Thanks for joining us. Weather has become a big story across the country. While folks in Western Canada deal with floodwaters, people in the east are battling the heat. The blast of heat is baking Ontario and southern Quebec, and forecasters are reluctant to say exactly when it might end. Temperatures before humidity are expected to hover around low to mid 30s for much of the week across southern Ontario and Quebec, and everyone copes differently.
My main thing is I've been making sure I have a cold sweet beverage with me. I've been stopping for juices, bubble tea. So yeah, I've just been drinking some sort of liquid throughout the whole day, and it's helped a lot. Summer is great. Summer's great. I'm going to stop complaining because in winter I'm wanting summer. Now it's summer. I'm going to have a great summer. It's going to be great.
I know that is very hot for sure. However, I come from a very hot country. You know, I come from DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo. It is very hot over there, and it is hot for I would say for 9 months. Very, very hot. So I'm okay, even though it is very hot today in Toronto.
We're astonished to see the number of people wearing jeans and parkas and long sleeve everything here. Bananas.
Yeah. There's a lot of I feel like fall clothes in this not fall weather, you know.
I'm going to be up in this area come this August for school, Waterloo, obviously. I think the weather's not going to be an issue, but given how concrete and literally a concrete jungle this area is, I know a lot of people talk about New York for that part. This is really hot, and I think there needs to be a lot more greenery in this area so that it cools down in the summer months, even though it does get a bit cold, obviously.
Toronto's hottest days are expected to coincide with Canada Day tomorrow and Thursday's FIFA World Cup knockout match between Croatia and Portugal. And while heat waves grip the east, folks in parts of Western Canada are battling floodwaters. On Monday, Alberta Parks declared a state of emergency in Kananaskis Country west of Calgary because of flooding and high stream flows triggered by heavy rain. Floodwaters forced the closure of Highway 40 at the Evan Thomas Bridge after part of the road washed out, and that has left about 1,500 people unable to leave campgrounds in the area. In its Tuesday update, Alberta Parks says traffic on Highway 40 is open in both directions from Highway 1 as far as Kananaskis Village, but there is no public access northbound from Highwood House to Kananaskis Lakes Trail. And southbound traffic is blocked at Mount Allen Drive. Alberta Parks says high stream flows continue to affect roads, trails, campgrounds, and day use areas. A wildfire in the Northwest Territories has grown to more than 100 square kilometers in size and is creeping dangerously close to homes in the village of Fort Simpson. The island community of 1,300 people was ordered to evacuate to Yellowknife on Sunday due to the out-of-control Dayco fire. Residents who have stayed back in Fort Simpson have been told to shelter in place because flames have now reached at least one highway west of the main town site. Meanwhile, air quality in much of northern Alberta and Saskatchewan is expected to be poor in the coming days because of wildfire smoke. Environment Canada says the smoke is expected to remain until midweek. People are being encouraged to limit their time outdoors and to keep windows and doors closed as much as possible. Officials say anyone who must spend time outside should consider wearing respirator-type masks such as N95s, which can reduce exposure to fine particles in the smoke. Prime Minister Mark Carney will be in Alberta on Canada Day in the evening, just a day ahead of an expected announcement on the province's push for a new pipeline to the West Coast. Alberta is facing a July 1st deadline to submit a pipeline proposal to the Major Projects Office, but Premier Danielle Smith's press secretary says because of the Canada Day holiday, the proposal for 1 million barrel per day of oil pipelines to the West Coast will be unveiled on Thursday. The Prime Minister gave this update Tuesday while speaking to reporters in Quebec.
We've been in close contact, the Premier and I, our teams as well. It's, as you indicate in your question, is for Alberta to submit a proposal on or around July 1st. That's tracking well from their perspective. But then there's a process that goes that takes a few months until October before a decision is made whether or not to refer to the Major Projects Office. A variety of things that have to be followed through, a variety of stakeholders that have to be engaged. And you reference rightly pathways in your question, and is always been linked. All aspects of the implementation, what is now an implementation agreement, are linked. So pathways, the reforms to the carbon market, potential pipeline, a series of other measures that are taken, including measures by the federal government.
Whatever the proposal, it's likely to face major opposition in British Columbia. Premier David Eby has been openly critical of the Memorandum of Understanding reached between Smith and Carney without buy-in from BC. Just over a week ago, this sound was heard for the first time in Regina, Saskatchewan. For the first time ever in Regina's downtown, the Muslim call to prayer was broadcast over outdoor loudspeakers from the new Jamia Masjid Mosque. After a public backlash, the call to prayer has been put on hold while the mosque consults with locals. Freelance reporter Lee Harding with the Western Standard says without any consultation or warning, the mosque obtained a permit from police allowing it to broadcast what it called a test of its 3-minute call over rooftop speakers.
They had it at about 30%, called it a sound test. No one knew what was happening, no neighborhood consultation or anything. And then last week, it was known there was going to be another one of these, partly due to some social media publicity that it was not from the mosque that happened. And so they decided to cancel it because they were already starting to get some negative feedback from this. We had heard in the news that there were 10 to 15 threats that had been made. Well, the mosque director could only name one, and it was someone who called and said, we'll take that down. And it wasn't clear whether he was going to take the speakers down or the mic down, but in any case, someone had said that they would take down the equipment that was making this broadcast. The only other person he could name was somebody who was opposed to it happening, and that was turned over to the police as a threat. Now, I talked to someone who's a staffer for one of the members of the Legislative Assembly in this city, and she told me everyone hates it. She said the Sikhs have called in, they don't want it to happen. A wide variety of people do not want it to happen, and the province just says, well, it's a municipal matter. That's what the provincial politicians are saying. Now, the mosque director he is looking for something from the mayor and from the premier to endorse what they're doing. He says silence is not enough.
Harding says what's even more confusing is the mosque has been under renovation for the past year and is not currently open. The current permit is in place until July the 10th. Sonduran Fanarerda says that he can understand why people are upset. He is Muslim and a host of Life with Sonduran podcast. He says the Regina Mosque didn't think this through.
There's a real big difference between church bells that ring out and then, a call to prayer that essentially suggests in their belief that, Allah is the only God and Muhammad is his messenger. And my argument is that that's totally fine for you to believe that, but is it a step too far where we end up now broadcasting that over loudspeakers? And is it insensitive? Is it absolutely doing what within even the Quran says to do, but also within Canadian values as being respectful? We live in a multicultural society. People practice Judaism, Christianity, all these other religions. And I think that this is my perspective, and people will argue against it. Some do, but it's my perspective that it's a step too far because it can be seen as insensitive. And I think the common perspective of Muslims across this country, we don't want to be seen as being disrespectful. The Muslims that I speak to, they want to be seen as respecting and understanding the culture that we have, okay? Understanding that we're living in a multicultural society. I think this was a misstep.
The priest at St. Paul's Anglican Church across the street from the mosque sent a message of support saying, "We support fully your presence here, your expression here, and look forward to getting to know you." The U.S. Supreme Court has rejected President Donald Trump's executive order declaring that children born to people who are in the United States without proper documentation or temporarily are not American citizens. We get more from Mark Sherman with the Associated Press.
Trump signed an executive order on his first day in office last year that would have upended more than a century's understanding of what it means to be an American citizen. Birthright citizenship is enshrined in the 14th Amendment to the Constitution, which was adopted after the Civil War. President Trump has posted repeatedly on social media about the importance of limiting birthright citizenship, and in a sign of his interest in the case, attended arguments in April, apparently the first time a sitting American president has attended Supreme Court arguments.
With Canada Day almost upon us, some new Canadians will celebrate the day after gaining citizenship or permanent residency. But for some, an uncertain future of not reaching that milestone looms over them. BCN's Naveen Day spoke with a newcomer to hear her story.
I came here in 2004 because I have a friend that lives on the east side, and that's when I got the bug for Canada. Just such a different country compared to what I'm used to.
From the small municipality of Gainsborough, population of about 25,000 people, Emily Bealby and her family moved from England to Canada. England, small in area but large in population, meant smaller opportunities for the family.
Every time we came to Canada on vacation, we left going, wouldn't it be really nice if we could retire there one day? And every time we came away, we brought our children on a big trip here once, and all we heard all the time is, when can we go back to Canada? When can we go and see the mountains? When can we go and see the bears?
Now living in Canada for the past 4.5 years, Emily and her husband are in the process of renewing their visas, something that can only be done 3 months before the current visas expire.
So ours expire at the end of August, so we've only just been able to put our renewals in. But the processing times are probably looking by December, by the time we actually get them renewed. And the constant waiting game of knowing or not knowing if you're going to get those visa extensions again.
Adding to the stress, Emily and her family will lose their healthcare coverage, and her children's schooling will be affected until they find out if they can stay in Canada or not. I reached out to Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada, but they weren't able to provide an interview or a statement in time for broadcast. The family has fallen in love with Canada, and according to Emily, the opportunities the country brings are far greater than what the UK has to offer.
So for instance, my daughter, who is a musician, just being at LCI High School here in Lethbridge, has allowed her in the 4 years that we've been here to play at Disneyland, play at Universal Studios. Last year in New York, she played at Carnegie Hall. That would never happen in the schooling she was at back home. And then my son, who's a soccer fanatic, playing with his clubs, he's played in Halifax, Toronto, Seattle, Vancouver. Again, those opportunities just don't arise easily living back where we lived.
During this divisive point in our country's history, with many people wanting to separate, it's been said that if you want to hate Canada, turn on the TV. But if you want to love Canada, drive through it. Emily says her trips to both the east and west sides of the country have been welcoming and hospitable experiences, unlike what she has experienced elsewhere.
Like, we have families just welcome us into their homes, you know, the cultural festivities that are so different here. Even Christmas is so different here compared to what we have back home. Thanksgiving, that's not a thing back home. So we've enjoyed spending time with families that have welcomed us, and yeah, we've had some really great. We've already got great memories. I hope it doesn't come to the point where we have to say goodbye to them, but yeah, we love it here.
For Bridge City News, I'm Naveen Day.
Thank you, Naveen. Canada Day celebrations are a go in Lethbridge tomorrow, but with the wet weather conditions, the city will be making some revisions at Henderson Lake Park. The nearby Trade and Convention Center will open its doors to host some facilities, including the main stage. Festivities begin at noon with a full day of events, including music performances, food vendors, kids activities, and the evening fireworks currently scheduled for 11 p.m.
So the main thing that is moving inside is the stage entertainment. So all of the music, performance groups, that sort of thing throughout the day will be moved right inside here into the lobby of the Lethbridge Trade and Convention Center. So that's the biggest thing that we're shifting inside. We already had a kids zone with some activities, games, bouncy castles that were planned for inside. We're just going to shift those down the hallway into our salon area. So we're expanding that a little bit more just to provide a few more options inside the building.
The ground is so saturated, it's just, you step in it and you kind of squish. So we don't want any heavy vehicles in there. We love our park and we want to protect it to the best of our ability. And so by shifting some of these things around, moving some of the heavier vehicles off of the park space, moving the entertainment indoors, it just helps us to protect that space even more.
And a reminder for those arriving in vehicles, parts of Parkside Drive will close to accommodate food trucks and vendors. But parking is available on site, plus the city is offering free public transit to the event. The Southern Alberta town of Taber has provided an update to the reconstruction of their community center following last winter's arena explosion. The town, which received a funding boost thanks to winning the Craft Hockeyville contest, will look to reopen its large ice surface at the community center by August 1st, in time for the upcoming hockey season. Asbestos abatement has been completed and repairs to the collapsed wall between the large and small arenas are underway, while the large arena is expecting a completion target this summer. A feasibility study is expected to be presented to Town Council this fall to determine the future of the small ice arena community center as a whole. A completion date for the curling club is also still in the air. The town says they're looking forward to providing a timeline for Craft Hockeyville festivities later, as planning for the event is still in the works. This is the time of year when members of the community can nominate local business for the 2026 Lethbridge Business Awards. To celebrate the best of the city's businesses, the awards recognize innovation, excellence, and community impact across 10 categories. Cindy Crane, CEO with the Lethbridge Chamber of Commerce, says the awards highlight what makes local businesses stand out.
We highlight those that are looking at whether it's things that they're improving with their HR structure. What are you doing for leadership? What are you doing to connect with your community, to tie business with community? It highlights the strength of Lethbridge, what Lethbridge and Southern Alberta is doing to really add to the economic development of our province. So whether you're a new business, is really working on reconciliation, you've been a long-standing business. So there's different categories. There's innovation category that showcases some of that new technology that's out there, and they get a trophy, but we also then put their names forward to the Alberta Chamber of Commerce. There's a provincial award, and just knowing how there's so many good people out there doing great things for our business community, but also for our community at large.
Crane says anyone can submit a nomination. It's free, easy, and a way to show appreciation for the businesses shaping the region.
Sean Haney here with RealAgriculture.com. The battle to keep post-secondary agricultural training in line with real-world industry demand just got a multi-million-dollar shot in the arm. The Alberta government has committed $7 million to expand and modernize the facilities at Lakeland College. This funding is targeted directly at the Vermilion campus, which sits right on the doorstep of the Saskatchewan border, to completely revitalize their student-managed farm lab. Now, the reality here is that Lakeland's beef yard was originally built for 60 students and 100 cows. Today, it's bursting at the seams, supporting over 80 students and 220 head of cattle. This investment will expand that beef yard, relocate and modernize aging horse pen facilities to improve animal safety, and ultimately increase the capacity for hands-on practical training. For regional producers, the strength of the workforce relies entirely on graduates who can hit the ground running. Upgrades kick off this July, marking a major step forward in ensuring the next generation of ag leaders actually reflects the scale and technology of modern agriculture. For Bridge City News, I'm Sean Haney with realagriculture.com.
Economists say a solid April rebound in gross domestic product suggests Canada is not in a recession after all. Statistics Canada is reporting real GDP rose 0.5% in April, topping the agency's earlier estimate for 0.4% growth for the month. With more on this report is Michelle Zadikian with the Canadian Press.
Statistics Canada says the economy rebounded in April with 0.5% growth in real GDP. The agency says a strong showing from the oil and gas sector helped power the economy at the start of the second quarter. Growth was otherwise widespread across industries, with manufacturing, construction, and the public sectors all contributing to gains. The rebound comes after a contraction in March dragged the first quarter of the year into slightly negative territory. The result had sparked talk of a recession hitting the economy after a pair of consecutive quarterly declines in GDP, though most economists said that label was premature. StatCan's early estimates have growth moderating but continuing, with an increase of 0.1% for May, thanks to growth in finance, insurance, real estate, and leasing activity.
BMO chief economist Doug Porter says he puts a very low probability on the U.S. tearing up the CUSMA trade agreement. Porter acknowledges there's been very little growth in Canada's economy over the past year as U.S. tariffs tanked Canadian exports. BMO's forecast sees the economy struggling to grow in 2026 before rebounding in 2027 and assumes the U.S. tariff stance will remain broadly unchanged over the coming year. And now here's a look at today's markets.
The TSX was up 33 to 34,856. The Dow was up 136 to 52,319. The S&P 500 was up 58 to 7,499, and the Nasdaq was up 393 to 26,213. West Texas Intermediate oil was down 72 cents to 70.02 US per barrel. Natural gas was up 7 cents to 3.25 US. Gold was down 9.15 to 40.0717 US an ounce, and silver was up 29 cents to 58.56 US an ounce. Feed wheat is at $8.03 per bushel, barley is at $6.47, canola is at $16.62, and corn is at $7.36 per bushel. Live cattle are up 80 cents to $2.5820. Feeder cattle August contract was down $2.87 to $3.6460. Lean hogs July contract was up 50 cents to $94.32, and the Canadian dollar remained unchanged, sitting at $70.40 US.
Recapping one of today's top stories, Canada Day is going to be hot in some parts of the country and smoky in others. In Ontario and Quebec, temperatures expected to hover around the low to mid-30s for much of the week. That's before you factor in humidity. Meanwhile, lightning strikes over the past week have sparked more wildfires in Saskatchewan, 41 in the last 7 days. Because of the smoke, people in Alberta and Saskatchewan are being encouraged to limit their time outdoors and to keep windows and doors closed as much as possible. A new study has released its findings on Alberta's competitiveness with our American neighbors to the south after the new MOU was signed between Prime Minister Carney and Premier Danielle Smith. The author of the study, Dr. Jack Mintz with the School of Public Policy at the University of Calgary, says the industrial carbon tax will have a significant impact on Alberta. That interview up next. Stay tuned and find out more. Also, when you see news happening in your community, be sure to send us an email at info@bridgecitynews.ca. You can also visit our website or YouTube channel anytime to check out more of our content and poll questions.